This conference will now be recorded.
We have a few others continuing to join us here, so we'll give them a few minutes. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. We're just waiting a minute here. We have a few other folks joining us, and we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Tristan, Hongyan, Sam, Daniela, Jamie Goodman. Welcome to the group. I don't think we have talked before, but very nice to have you here. Norm Nelson also recently joined the group. We're very glad to have you for all the CDOM work and experience on the chemical area. Peter JJ, fantastic to have you here. Yeah, I appreciate you all coming because we know that, well, not only you have a lot already to do, let alone to learn some a little bit more syntax and having more work on creating content. But I believe that we can get through that very easily, especially because the syntax is quite simple. I would suggest that we wait 2 more minutes until 5 past 8, just that everyone can arrive, and then we start by presenting, giving an overview of the MediaWiki installation that we have. I will log out here. So I created for all the users that were hello. Okay, so for all the users that have, for all the editors that have their have added their org ID, we have already created at least the shaded lines or the lines with accounts that have already been created, so that you can log to the wiki. But Daniela told me that she had some problems logging. So let me know afterwards if you have any issue logging in from the email that you received. And if you do, after the meeting, I'll take a look and see if I can solve whatever the problem is. But for now, even if you can't connect, just follow on with the video. And because I think you would follow on the video anyway, I think it would be very challenging to try to do at the same time, so that at least you can see we preparing and making the the edits and syntax necessary in creating things, etc. So okay, so we planned this workshop so that we can present how our wiki installation works, and present some details of syntax by very practically creating our first article within this wiki. So I'm going to show to you, this is an overview of what we're going to go through today, and we're going to go through it fairly fast to be able to fit in 1 hour. But do not worry, not only this video is recorded, but also everything that I'm going to say, it's written down as a manual in the wiki itself. So you're going to go through landing page and login, the main page structure, what's intended to be there, present a little bit of the navigation around the wiki, and then go through the page creation. So adding semantic properties, adding text, formatting sections, formatting math, adding images, uploading images, adding image data, adding inline citations, registering new references, formatting text and hyperlinks, adding categories, and starting a discussion page and create a user page. Okay, so that's overall what we're going to go through in this presentation. So let's start. So when you first come to the address of our wiki, which is you have received before by mail, I hope, aquatic optics science, aquatic/optics.science, you're gonna land in this page, which tells you a little bit of what this is. Okay, there's a description here what the project is intended to do, and that during the production stage, a login is required. So during production stage, only editors that have an account are able to see, to read, and to edit the content. So you can click here on the login symbol, or you can also come here on the three dots. There's also going to be a login option for you. So you just click there, and you're going to enter your username and your password. Click and log in, and you land in the main page of our wiki. So the main page here, the wiki, is structured right now as a very simple, how would I say, as a very simple, like board for us for each area. So we have the project, the main project here, which we and each coordinator, thematic area coordinator, can add some information that they want to share with the whole group. Because everyone entering would see, so you can create new rows here with some information or calls to the area specific pages. So each one of those links, read more, redirect to you or open up the thematic area specific page for each thematic area. So for example, in the project would have no general communication, but for example, the optics could say, hey, we are looking for someone to create an entry on this specific topic or something like that. And of course, you can always open. So here, for example, we're going to open the page for the optics thematic area. And one of the things that we're going to have here in the optics thematic area, now this is completely is a blank canvas, so we can do with it whatever we want. So one of the sections I created here is a defined symbol sections. This is a query that creates this automatically this table that queries for all the symbols that are already defined within the wiki. Within the optics thematic area. And that makes simple if you are coming up with or suggesting a new symbol to be used, you see what is defined already, and also is the page that are defining those symbols. So these are just some examples. This is going to be improved later on to show actually the math rendering of the LaTeX markup, but for now you only see the LaTeX markup. So this is very useful when you are creating an article. And of course, here, for example, again, for the thematic optics area, we could have any sort of information, for example, a list of all different entries that we consider most important that we want to create in the first stage of our effort, and things of the like. Again, this is a blank canvas. We can do with it whatever we like. On the bottom here, after the sections, there is one for each thematic area. We have the manual section. So there is some explanation here, linking for the delivery specification, which the implementation of the wiki followed the specification we detailed there, which was reviewed by Sam and by Daniela as well. And we have links here to some of the manuals that exist, for example, explaining navigation, explaining new pages, how to make new pages, formatting citations, etc. Another thing that's useful here in the main page, because the main page is easily accessible for any page in the wiki, we can just click in main page or click in the icon or the name of the wiki, is a cheat sheet with the simple syntax we would use to do various kinds of things. For example, text formatting. It's very simple to add italic, bold, or both, how to create internal links, inline citations, handling math, etc. So there is an example of what can be done. And you can always click in the links here, and we will be taken to the manual section that explains with further options how can you use those that syntax. Now, you don't need to remember any of these by heart, because whenever you are editing a page, the page editor has this markup, or there's even help pages help indicators of the syntax you should use and can add that syntax for you by clicking a button. So this is just the most common things that you know what you can do, and if you need, because this of course will give you more control if you write by yourself than using a button in any edit page. So a little bit of navigation before we enter and go through our example. So in the MediaWiki page, you're going to have these elements, which is here the sidebar. You have here the top bar. It has some elements, for example, as the sidebar hide and show button, has the link to the main page, has a search bar to search for content in this wiki, has your user name and link for your personal user page, has some alerts and notices that you can receive depending on if other users write to you, send you email, or when you do some kind of edits or things like that. Has your watch page list. I'm going to show you later. Anytime you create a page or you edit a page, you can add it to your watch list. So anytime a change is made to that page, you receive a notification to tell you that some change was made, and you can check out to see what was that change about. And of course, you also have here some buttons for your preferences to go to your own discussion page. And depending on the rights that you have available, you're going to have more links. Me and Daniela, we have administrative rights in this wiki, so we have additional tabs and additional links here in the sidebar as well. So the sidebar is very useful for you to navigate around. It's going to have recent changes. So if you click here, you're brought up to a page that simply lists everything that was done recently in this wiki, and you can change the configuration here to show different numbers of changes in terms of number of changes or days. And you can look what was done here recently, and that can be very helpful when you're trying to have a broader look of what's being done in the wiki. The composition here of the sidebar changes depending on the page you are in. So you can choose to be taken to a random page in the wiki, or taken to a general help section about the MediaWiki software. Then you have this interesting links. For example, we got what links here, which is which pages within this wiki have a link directing you to this page. So whenever you make a change that can break links, for example, you're moving a page was named, I don't know, particle scattering, and then you change to hydrosol scattering. There will be several pages that are linking to that particle scattering page, and if you change the name, those links will be broken. And this is one way that you can know what needs to be fixed. Related changes, I don't quite remember by heart what this means. We can take a look at it later. You have here the link to upload files, so images, for example, that we want to put. Special pages list a series of special pages in the wiki that provides you with essentially listing some properties or configurations, or for example, we have a list of wanted pages that are indicated that are necessary but were not created yet. You can see all pages in the wiki. You can look through the categories, etc. There's several things here that you're not going to use. It's going to be more for administrative use, but essentially some very useful maintenance reports here in terms of wanted page, wanted categories, and things like that. Or listing all categories, for example, here, listing all pages are very useful to have. Then you have a printable version of this page, which is a simple print from the web. It doesn't format it as a PDF. We are looking into extensions that can do that. And you have a permanent link to this page, which is relevant because in Wikipedia, in MediaWiki, we can always update the page. So a permanent link actually gives you a link to the current revision of this page. So whatever the page changes in the future, that permanent link will always lead to the content of the page at that point in time. You have page information, browse properties inside this page. Inside this page, it will create as we want it to have according to the delivery specification. a format citation or formatted citations of that page content. So here, for example, I have been the only one creating content for this page, so automatically it records, or it automatically gets the names of all authors, all contributors to that page, sorts them by their textual contributions to that page, and creates citations from different styles, including a BibTeX entry. Okay, so that's available for all pages. And I will skip browse properties for now. So this is the general perspective, and here in the center of the page, you have a series of tabs here. The main page, just the name of the page that you're looking right now, and you have a discussion page, and you have read, edit, source, views, history. You have a star here, and some other options here in the drop-down menu. So the discussion page essentially is going to create a page for discussion. So Wikipedia has this model that has two connected pages. This is the content. And if I wanted to create a discussion about this content, for example, let's say we were in the page of particle scattering, and I want to say, hey, I think the symbol we are using is not the best because of this, and that. I want to start a discussion about the content with all the other editors. I would come here in the discussion page, and I would start a thread with that discussion, and we're going to go through that later on. Then here in the top we have the read, which is what we are doing. You're reading the content of this page, but we can also edit it. So if I click in Edit Source, we're going to be taken to the source code for this page. Okay, and do not worry, the main page is the more complex syntax here. There's a lot of HTML and CSS styles and things like that. But essentially, you're going to be brought to this editor that, as I said, has here some information about, again, the syntax you use for different things. If you want, it has some buttons that will help you to add some markup to your text as well. In some situations, the page can be protected and you not have the right to edit it. So this link, instead of editing source, will be a view source. You're always going to be able to see the source, but not necessarily going to be able to edit it. Now, in view history, you're going to have a view of all the changes that were made to the page since the creation. So it tells you when, who, and also a summary of what was added. So for example, here I said added main structure for the thematic areas. And you can always compare versions by choosing two versions to compare, and you're going to say the difference between those two. So for example, what was added, what was removed. And this again is available for all pages. So it really helps the collaboration by all members of the team. And you can also, if necessary, undo. So you can undo any change that was done by mistake. This is normally most useful for public wikis where people can vandalize and do other things. In our case, that probably will not be necessary in any circumstance. Okay, and then this is just some, I will skip those. So just some administrative links that some of us will have in terms of deleting pages, moving pages, protecting, which is avoiding other people to edit those pages, and just refresh, which is clear the cache and make a request again to the database of that page. Okay, so I think with that, we cover the overall perspective of how we navigate around. And again, do not worry on remembering that, because if you come here to the manuals, you click in navigation, there will be a page here with this description. So there's an image showing the different sections and then the descriptions of those different sections and what you can do from those different links or different elements of each navigation element. Okay. So with that said, let's put some let's go to our hands-on workshop and create then our entry. Just gonna have to reopen this to make my life easier. Oh, too fast. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to start by creating a page. Now, there is a link here that explains the creation of a page. And essentially what we can do is that there are several ways that you can start creating a page. One of the ways, the simplest ways to create a page is just creating a link to some content that does not exist yet. So any link to a page that doesn't exist yet is rendered as a red link, like for example, discussions here, or manual something, or random NS something. And when you click on that, you are directed to an interface to create that page that doesn't already exist, okay? So we're gonna go here, or we can also search for a page. For example, let's say that we are searching for Glint. And if a Glint page does not exist in the wiki, it's gonna offer us the opportunity to create again with a red link. So let's go ahead and say, okay, let's create this Glint page. And at this point, there is you were presented with a very blank, very scary blank page, which has no content, no structure. So I have created some skeletons that we can use to guide the page creation so that we have some uniformity in the content structure. So in this case, let's just use this and write this code here. And what's going to do, this is going to copy this skeleton into this page as soon as we save it. So I'm going to just say I'm adding a skeleton. There's this option to watch this page that I'm creating. I'm going to save this. And once I'm saving this, what's happening now is that it's copying all the content of the skeleton into this page. So this would be the skeleton as rendered. Okay. So for a typical quantity page, we'd have this kind of sections. We have the general summary section, some properties here rendered as an info box, and a plain language definition, independent variables, discussion, historical notes, observed range, synonyms, and if the case, any categories here. So let's just go inside and start editing this skeleton. Now, I'm not going to read everything that's written here because we don't have a lot of time, but there is a lot of HTML comments saying just what those sections are supposed to have and guiding you to fill up this content. So I'm just going to delete here because I already know, and you can read that afterwards. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to create the semantic properties of this quantity. Okay. So we're calling this Glint. So let's go ahead and say, for the full name of this property, we're going to give this spectral, specular, water excitant regions. And there's no acronym, but let's go and put a symbol here, and we're just going to use LaTeX markup. Okay. So let's say that we're going to use that for symbol. Now, specification is a little bit different. The specification, you're going to say, if you have to describe this variable with the independent variables, it depends on what are the variables that we should put up. And here we're just going to list page names. And what this will do for us, that automatically query those pages and get their symbols, so that in order to create a specification, full specification symbol. So I'm putting some content here, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about it in a moment. But essentially, we're going to say, well, Glint is dependent on position, time, acceptance angle here in quotes. We can discuss this later. It's the acceptance angle and FOV are essentially, as far as I understand, the same thing. And just because the acceptance angle page already exists in the wiki, I'm just going to use that so that we have a symbol there. But of course, we change that later on and try to use a single term for that, whatever is acceptance angle or field of view. And then direction and wavelength. Okay. So let's put the units, and this we're going to use HTML markup. So watts per meter squared. So we're just going to put here the HTML syntax for that. Let's just copy, and we're going to say steradian -1. And nanometer -1 as well. Okay. So let's add the simple description to this. The radians. specularly reflected. Yeah. Let's now describe that. Depends is a different field. No worries. Later on, I'm going to show you the description of this function that we are using, and it states for you every one of those arguments that we are putting in. But for now, just follow with me. So we're going to list another set of pages now, which is the more generic direct dependencies of this variable. So this specification is how can we describe this variable? And depends is a more direct dependence of this variable. So for example, it does depend on surface roughness. It depends on the refractive index. It depends on incident illumination and depends on direction. Okay. And defined is if this was defined by a specific book or institution or something like that, we would add those. So let's go ahead and save this and just say that we added semantic properties. So now what's happening is that we registered. Okay, let's do a purge to see if that's not going to be hindered. Okay, so so we fill in those semantic properties, and this automatically this allows us to automatically populate this info box, which has the full name of this variable, which is calling glint, and is specular water excitant radiance. It has a symbol and has a specification here. And as I said before, which is interesting about this is that we are querying each one of those variables that we put in: position, time, acceptance angle, direction, and wavelength, and getting their symbols. And this content model allows us that we define in a single place and use everywhere. So if at any point we decide to change a symbol for something, the change will cascade for all the wiki. So we will avoid entering symbols directly. We will always query the page that for which that symbol was defined. Okay, and then enter here also the units and a list of the primary independent variables. So surface roughness, refractive index, incident illumination, and direction. All right, so we have some initial content, which was adding the semantic properties. Now let's add some text to our page. I'm going to go ahead and put to edit it again. And just to simplify my life, I'm going to copy and paste a text that I already did before. And this is just plain text information about that we would write either inside a wiki or outside, and just put, initial content. And let's save change. You can always show preview. That's actually the preferred way, so that you can take a look of what's going to happen once you save, so that you don't have to, go back and forth editing small errors that happen in your, adding content before you save it. Okay, so we save changes and we add some text here. So it's very simple. You just copy and paste, and what's going to happen is just going to render that text with no special formatting. You see the math, all the equations are as tag markup, nothing special happening now. And so let's start making this a little bit more pleasant to read. So let's start by formatting our sections. So formatting of sections is very simple. You're just going to add equal signs equivalent to the level of the reading header. Sorry. So for example, the first level is the name of the page itself, which is glint. So for now, we're going to use for every section 2 equal signs, which indicate and give a specific formatting of this to be of a header of level 2. And if you want to use further subsections, you're just going to add a higher number of equal signs. Then you're going to have subsection, subsection, etc. And again, you don't need to know this by heart, because not only this is available from this, it's reminded for you here. For example, in terms of heading, you can use this to add automatically, but we also have a manual on that. So let's take a look on how these changes now look like with a little bit of formatting. So now we have sections, and so that creates automatically this table of content, and also provide this formatting, which we have this line indicating and separating clearly between the different sections. Okay, that's good. So let's just say that we add section headers. Just a minor. Okay, next step, we would go to formatting math. That should be the fun part. So I'm going to do the formatting of some math here, but not all, because this text has a lot of math. It would take me a long time if you very bored looking me doing this. But essentially what you do here is you have a text markup, and you're just going to select that, and you're going to click on this icon here. And what it's going to do is that it's going to wrap your text markup into math tags. And this is not an HTML command. This is a specific extension from MediaWiki command. And this will do a lot of things. But the important thing for us is that we'll render this as, in mathematical notation. So let's just do this for those sets of equations. And just take a look on how this looks. Okay, so if we come here to this part, this is all done for us very automatically. We don't need to worry about anything about size, about resolution, etc. And we have this series of equations here that were used in the definition. Now we can do the same when text is inline. So let's just go ahead and do some example of this. So here, for example, we can do the same. We have this syntax here, and we're just going to wrap it with math tags again. And if necessary, this will work properly. But if you have some kind of symbol that's quite vertical, you could add a display inline, which is an attribute that you just format that in a compact way to be displayed inline in text. Okay, but it's not necessary unless you're using like an integral sign, something that has a vertical span that's typically higher than a line. So again, let's take a look on how that goes into the in-text math. And here it is. We have entered also here the symbol for direction, view direction. Okay. Now I could do this for all math that is here, but there's a lot of it, so let's not do that. Otherwise, it would take us quite some time. So I'm just gonna save this as it is for now, and we're gonna go to the next step. Okay. So we're just gonna add here and save as adding math. Okay. So the next step for us then after the adding math would be to add images. Now, one first thing that we want to have, I guess, in every article is to have an example image that exemplifies that concept, that quantity, that code, whatever it is that whatever the class of article that we are writing. So let's go here. And the way to do this is that we're going to adapt this info box quantity, which is automatically querying the semantic properties and creating that nice info box. And we're just going to add another variable there. We're going to pass in an image variable. And this image variable is the name of a image that we already have registered within this wiki. No worry, we're going to go for that as well. So let's just take a look and see how that would go. Cool. Perfect. So we have here an image that's entered here in this info box showing an image that captures or that exemplifies this concept or this quantity that we are trying to describe. Now let's try to add another image here. Here in the discussion, we talk about that glint can be a nuisance for the measurements that we are doing. For if you are wanting to take information of the composition of the water system itself, right? So let's take an image, let's add an image that exemplifies that. So I have added here a pre-syntax for that, which is here. We have the name of a file, which is the file that we're going to use to exemplify this, and a caption for that file. So in order to render an image, to add an image here, we're just going to put two square brackets in the beginning and in the end. And we can add some definitions here. We can say, for example, that we want this to be a total width of 350 pixels, okay? And I think I will also add thumb, none. So those are some options that you can add that will indicate how to format this image. And as a last component here, we would add the caption that we want for this image. So let's take a look and see how that goes. Okay, so this is almost correct. It has one error, and the error is that this image does not exist yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this page as it is with this red link. Just delete this, and let's say adding images. And now let's add this image that doesn't exist yet to this page. So we can do from the side link here the upload image. And let's go ahead and find that image in my computer. I think it will be, sorry, it will be so it says here the types of files, extensions that currently are available. There's many more types that can be available. If you need, just let me know and I'll add those. And here it says ask for the destination file name in our system, and that's the name that you're going to use to add the image to a page. And then you can say here, for example, add a description for this high frequency observation of the water excitant agents. And then you're going to choose a license. In this case, you're going to say that attribution, non-commercial, share alike for this image. And then again, we can choose to watch this file in case someone makes some change, we're going to be notified. And that's it. Let's upload it. Okay, so it's showing the image that we just uploaded. And now let's go back to our glint page. And see if everything goes okay here. So now you see that's not yet there because to reduce the traffic, it has a lot of caching going on. So you just come here, choose to refresh the page, which will purge the cache, and we'll do a new query in the database, and now the image is presenting there. Okay, so now we have an example. So you're saying here, hydrometric measurements performed above water if the intention of retrieving water-leaving reagents requires specific methods, protocols, and processing schemes to estimate and remove glint from the water system excitant reagents. For a broad range of surface states and sunset angles, careful choice of view angle following integration time can largely reduce the effect of sun glint reaching the detector. And then we have here this image that exemplifies this with a caption. Very high frequency measurements of water excitant reagents at 520 nanometers, so the teal line, with the minima coincides with the water excitant diffused reagents measured below the water surface, approximated by the broken indigo line, adapted from Olszewski and Sokolsky in 1990. Okay, so if you click in this image, you'll be taken to the file which you can download in higher resolution, etc. Okay, good. So let's see what else we can do. So we did add image, we did uploading images. So let's now add image data. So currently, go back here to the main page. Currently, one of the things that we want to have is be able to potential readers to download the data of a plot, or for us to have the data of this plot if we need to make some changes in the future. We don't have a current system set up yet for that within the wiki. So the agreement we had is that we're going to save all the information in terms of the data that was used for the plot, the code that was used to generate the plot, or the PowerPoint if in the case of the schematics. And we're going to save it, uploading data, and we're going to save it within our shared folder, okay? So in this case, we're going to open here the shared folder. And we're gonna, this article is within the optics thematic area. So we're just gonna open here the optics thematic areas, and there's a folder here for wiki images. So if it doesn't exist, the thematic area folder and this folder just created the first time that you're doing this. And we're gonna ask you to add some files. So let's go and add the files. So again, we go to where the file exists. And here I have the CSV with the data for the plot. I'm also going to add the image just in case so that you know you can have a look to see what is how currently that image is being shown and the code to generate it. Okay. And we just upload this there, and the name is the same name as the image has in the wiki, so that it's easier for any user to reference and to find the data or the code to generate it based on the name of the image in our wiki. In the future, we're going to have a system to save the CSV file inside the wiki and have a link that allow a user to just click and download the CSV data used to create that plot. Okay, so let's move on to adding inline citations. Okay, so we wanted to have, as part of the specification, a system that would be a reference manager that allows us to define those references in a single place and then use those references anywhere. So we have here, for example, it's saying, but it is undesirable component of the water evitant reagents when the objective is to retrieve information about the water system composition through the water leaving reagents. And there is two references here, but textual format, okay? Mobley and Olszynski. Okay, so what we can do is now we're gonna add that inline citation using a sort of a function that we have written for this wiki. And this function is cite, has a pipe symbol, the key to the reference, and then close again with double curly brackets. And we're going to do this again for the next reference. Yeah. And what this will do is that essentially you will tag this as a semantic property of this page that has a citation reference to being the citation key, and then we'll trigger a series of formatting steps. And I'm gonna show here. That will do a bunch of things for us. One, it will create small icons in terms of links here, so that we have the inline citations now numbered, so it has a number 1 and 2, but it will also automatically produce this section called references, where the references are collected. And here we have the rendering of the reference according to the style that we're using now in the wiki. There's something to be improved here, which is I have to make a function that will correctly format the author names in terms of last name first, contract the first name, etc. But this is sufficient for now for us to start adding content to the wiki. And here you have a link back icon. So if you're in the reference, you're like, whoa, where this is used, and you can click back and it'll take you to the point in the text where this was used. Now I'm going to go back and add some more references here in line citations just to show you. So we have another reference in line citation to Mobley here. I'm going to do the same. So you can repeat. It will keep the same reference number as you would expect. And the difference that we will make is, I'm just gonna wait to see. So Mobley was reference 1 or 2, I think number 1. So if we go here to the second moment where we cite Mobley again, it keeps the same number reference, but now we have in the reference list we have A and B, and these A and B are the 2 different positions in the text where that reference is cited. Okay, so if you click on B, we go into this position. So very useful functionality for us. In terms of writing this. Now, we would like to, if possible, to also add a reference. We should actually also add a reference to the imagery. The problem is that currently the syntax of MediaWiki does not work with that mode of inline citation, and it would have to go through a more hard, let's say, raw HTML citation model. Content model. So if I go here to edit page, and this code exists as an example, so you can look at it and change as necessary, or you can just wait a few weeks or days until we find a way to make a user-friendly syntax. But I'm going to show here how we could do this with some historical notes. Adding a reference to, so this is something that I had pre-written. So we have here this file, which is a Shirley King 1923, and we're talking about the components of water system existent reagents. And to be able to add an inline citation as we have here to the Shirley King paper, we have to have this full workaround instead of simply this simple syntax to add an image. We have to go bare bones into HTML to make this work. So you don't have to do this now. We're going to find a solution for that, but temporarily this is what we have. So adding image, and let's take a look at how this goes. Okay, so let's take a look here. Yeah, so here in the historical notes, and we have same kind of formatting that we have here. Okay, and we have here together in the caption, we have a citation, we have an inline link to the reference of Shirley King. Now I have to save this to handle the reference because the references are only queried after the page is saved. Okay, so now if we go here to the references, we have here the reference to the paper Shirley King that shows, from where this image is taken. Okay. Right. So let's
Alex,
see.
just a question.
Yes.
So how does a wiki find the citations? Do we need to add it in?
Yeah, I'm gonna show to you now. So if we go to the main page here, we're gonna see that there is manual about citations, and there's an explanation how to add inline citations to a page, but also has information that's saying that the citation must be already registered. And one place that you can look for citations that are registered, you go to the page references all. So if you go to this page, there will be a list of all the citations that are registered currently in this wiki, and they are listed by their citation key. Okay. And to register a new citation, there is an explanation here on how to do this, registering new references. And essentially, you're going to go to a page. So here's an example for the article of us. You're going to go to the page references. So this is the namespace. It's kind of a folder inside the Wikimedia, MediaWiki. So to the references namespace, A, because the last name as starts with an A. And there we're going to add this syntax. And this syntax is very simple. Again, it's a function call, okay, with a single parameter, which is a bibtex, and then you're just going to enter the bibtex name, the bibtex entries for that, okay, and then you close the function. And there's some ideas on how this should be done. For example, the citation key should always have a letter, even if it's the first one, So if the first reference of ours is 1996, we're going to add an A anyway. And then sequential ones are going to be add B, C, D, etc. And we're going to try to keep this in order. So let's go there and show you how this actually occurs in practice. So here is the page in the references namespace, the page A. And we see 3 references that are registered now. And if you go to edit source, we're going to see some information. So what you should do, you can copy the examples here, and we're going to try to keep, again, ordered by the reference key. So as 87A, and then 96A, and then 97A. And that's all you have to do. You just open this function, cite, put this parameter, which is bibtex, and you just copy the bibtex entry there. And that will register your reference. And there's just a notice here, like put all the registrations of references above this line, and this is just a function that will show which because those functions here, they don't have an output. So this is just listing, it's a function we wrote to just query and show the table showing all the references that are currently registered in this page, okay, which is this one here. But you can see the details for that again in the manual citations of how to do. And if we go to and this is a boilerplate, you can just copy and paste. So you just copy and paste that, and then you substitute this by your bibtex entry. Okay. There's some things to know here, just like the types of bibtex entry that we have let's say included now. So it just means that this is a specific formatting. We wrote how this should be formatting for those entry types. So if you do not use those entry types, then this is not going to be formatted correctly. Okay, if you need something else, just let us know and we'll create new reference types and add new formatting. For now, you're using AP style. So just to show how this looks like in the inside, but you don't need to know this is all used automatically by the site extension. You have here the different fields that's going to be used and how this is going to be formatted. And here's an example, or should have an example, of how the formatting actually works into a paper. But you don't need to know any of that. What you need to know is how you're making line citations, which is described here. And if your reference, you go to reference all, if you want to look if a reference already exists. If it doesn't exist, you have here the information on how you register new reference. You just copy and paste this boilerplate and add your bibtex entry, and you have your reference registered there, right? Okay, so moving on to the next, formatting text and hyperlink. Okay, so we said a few things about, let's go back to the glint entry, about formatting. And formatting, it's very simple. The formatting we typically need is making some, we can add here, for example, we're going to go to edit source, and we can say, well, maybe we want the first occurrence of the word glint to be bold. And we can either select this and click in bold, or just add ourselves the 3 apostrophes before and after, and that will make this to be rendered as bold. But that's very simple, so I'm not going to go through that. What I think it's interesting is for us to talk maybe about linking. So to make it an internal link, we just had 2 square brackets and close that. And what it's going to make is we'll make MediaWiki to look for a page inside the MediaWiki that has this name, okay, and make a link to that. So we can make links throughout our text to anything that we think is important, to anything that we think that could have additional information that would be relevant to this article. So let's say I'm going to go somewhere else and say, okay, wavelength, for example. And MediaWiki has a system that the first letter is always capitalized in terms of pages, but it's insensitive because it will capitalize for you automatically. So you can have an in-text link like that, and we'll find the correct page called wavelength with uppercase W. So let's just save this just so that you see how that renders. And here comes the interesting part that I told you in the beginning. So if a page does not exist, it will appear as a red link. And that's useful because if you link throughout your article things that you think are important, all those pages will be listed in the special pages, wanted pages. So let's go there and show. If you go now here in wanted pages, there will be the pages that we just added there. Surface roughness, for example. There will be a lot of other things here in terms of other pages that don't exist yet that are prepared to be created, but essentially the air-water interface, field of view, the ones that we just added are listed here. So anyone looking for work to do, if you want to create a content, you just can check out what kind of articles people are needing. And again, we knew that we already have wavelengths created in this because we are extracting automatically the symbol of wavelengths. So it's correctly rendered here as a blue link. And I'm just going to follow this link to show you this page. So I just created a very simple page for wavelengths just to add the symbol so that we could query it. So essentially there's no content yet, only the skeleton and a little bit of information, essentially the symbol, so that other pages could query this page for the symbol and use it to create several things. The same way, if you are editing text and commenting on wavelengths, we don't want to write lambda directly. We want to query what is the symbol for wavelengths. So let's do this here. We can just edit specifically this section. And we created a function for this, but don't worry, again, this is all in the manuals. And let's say wavelengths, and then we want to show wavelengths. So let's go ahead and put this in parentheses, and we're going to use this function called SD, which is symbol display, and we're just going to say name of the page. So wavelengths. And what this is doing is that it's going to query the page wavelength for its symbol, and will do also a mathematical rendering for us. So let's go ahead and save this so that we can see. So instead of adding tag markup for symbols, we're going to use this kind of notation, this kind of function, because then again, we allow it for cascading throughout the wiki. So we define one place, we use everywhere. So if ever we want to change the symbol of wavelength, it will automatically change throughout all the content in the page because we are again defining it in a single place and using it everywhere. Okay, so that's the general idea of how this goes. Adding a category. Okay, so categories are very useful for us to know and look for pages existing within a given context. So let's go and add this. And as a matter of style, we're going to add to the bottom of a page the categories. So the category that we're going to add in this wiki is simply the thematic area that's creating that content. So category, and we're going to put optics. Oops. And once we save that, it's going to create a special formatting here in the bottom. Now I will list all the categories of this page. In this case, it's going to only be optics. And we can follow a link to see all the categories, but I'll open first the category of optics. So in the category of optics, what it's going to show to us is all the pages that have the same tag, the same information in terms of double square brackets, category, optics, and is listing all the pages in the optics thematic area, because all the pages in the optics thematic area should have that syntax to indicate that. And you can also come to the full categories that shows all the categories that exist in this wiki so that we can see what else exists in case you want to add some categories. So there's a category for editor properties, entity properties, escape templates, info boxes, license templates, meta templates. So there's not yet the categories for all semantic areas, but then you can just create, or I will create that, and then you can just check here for the correct name and use. And you, again, can always access this, for example, to going through the special pages and close to the list of all pages you have here, the category link, and you can go there and you're going to reach the same page. listing all the categories on the wiki, right? Start a discussion. So now let's say that someone read through this and say, hey, Alex, I'm not sure that we should define glint in radiance space. Maybe we should define glint in a reflectance space because this is more common. So what we can do is that we open the discussion, which didn't exist yet. So we're going to create that page and we're going to say add topic so that we're going to create a structured discussion and we're going to create the thread here. And we're going to say that this is should glint be defined in reflectance. Okay. Hi, team. I'm not sure if it is best to define glint in radiance space. What do you think? And I can add my signature, which you can just click on here, and it's going to add for you the signature. Essentially, is for consecutive of those symbols. I forgot the name of it now, and it will add your information and the date that you add that comment. So let's just go ahead and save, and that create a thread for discussion, which you can all access, and say, hey team, I'm not sure if the best to define glint in radiance space. What do you think? And then there's a link here to my user page indicating that I commented that, and also there's information when I did that. So you can reply to that. You can, I would have to see how I replied. I guess I just go here to edit source. And if you want, you can just add another response and then add your, how you call it, add your signature, or you can also add horizontal line, which I forgot the syntax to do an horizontal line, but everything will be there so that you can at least make some separations between those two comments, okay? Yeah, leave page. And that's pretty much it in terms of article content. So what you're going to have afterwards is that we're going to have an article here that has some initial information and some formatting, including links indicating pages should be created if they don't. They're going to have some inline citations with references listed at the bottom. That we're going to have a series of semantic properties that are queried to automatically build this info box, and that can also be queried by other pages, for example, the symbol of this. To build automatically fields like specification, which was all built automatically by querying the position page for the symbol of position, the time page for the symbol of time, etc. Plain language definition, some definitions with mathematical functions, both in blocks and in line. We can have, you know, you're going to have the different sections here. We can have images linked in the middle. We can have, again, references into the images. And that's it. And we can also register some synonyms. So let's go ahead and do that, because why not? Included in every skeleton is this syntax here to, okay, thank you, Jamie. Sorry for not, yeah, we're gonna take a few more minutes, but just more 5 or 10 minutes. So not a lot more, but this is all being recorded so you can catch up later on. So every skeleton includes this function here, which is synonym, which allows you to add a synonym to this page. So let's say, I don't know, I'm just going to create a random name here, glare, and there will be no symbol, there will be no units, and it's going to be defined. I'm just going to put some name, let's say no one, just to have some content, okay? Just so to show an example. And we can repeat that function several times if we wanted to declare several synonyms, flashes, I don't know. No one again. And what it's going to do is that's going to register these synonyms as a reference, as a semantic properties of this page, and allow us to query those semantic properties. So let's go ahead and save this, added random synonyms. And what's going to happen now is that, again, semantic properties don't cause any visual effect, so nothing appears here on the top, but we have an automatic query, or should we have an automatic query, which is called synonym table. I'm going to add it right now, but should come automatically with the skeleton. And what it's going to do is that's going to add for us a synonym table. It's going to query all the synonyms in this page, and it's going to present that for us in a table format. So here we have. So synonyms, we have flashes and we have glare, and if they had symbols would be listed here, if they had units would be listed here. Defined is in terms of pages, because those defined by is not a reference like those, it's pages in the wiki, because if you think they're important enough, they will be pages here. So we can say, for example, defined by IOCCG or defined by, and then of course there will be a page for IOCCG. And that's all in terms of formatting of an article of type quantity. Of course, you're going to define different types of entries. You're going to have concepts, we can have codes, we can have algorithms, types of entities. And there we'd have to define which kind of sections are, make sense for those kinds of entries. Now, the last step for this presentation is to show how to create a user page. It's as the same as everything else. You're just going to create in your user link here in the top.
Yeah. Alex, can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, because we are switching to another topic. I have just doubt if you want to get this cascading with, if you change the title of your article, if there is any cascading backwards to the other articles, or how we can manage this kind of change.
There is an explanation for that. So we're going to show here another page that exists called particle scattering coefficient. And sorry, it is. And what's going to happen is that you're going to see a redirect. So this page exists, but essentially everything it's doing is that it's redirecting me to the hydrosoil scattering coefficient. Now, which is a page that I create just for test. Now, how do I do again to just go there? Okay, we can go to special pages. And I'm going to show how this happens in practice. Yes, so to answer your question, yes, this all propagates if you do a redirect. And that option exists when you rename a page. So if you go here to the main namespace, which have the articles, the common content articles, you're going to see some pages in italic. And those pages are pages that exist, but they have no content. They're only redirect. So let's say I created a page first called particle scattering coefficient. And but later on, we decided this name is not good enough. We're going to change this to hydrosoil scattering coefficient. So there is a specific syntax that you put here, but again, this is all explained in the manuals, which is a command, let's say you redirect, and the page it should redirect to. So now automatically, all the links that linked to particle scattering coefficient will direct to hydrosoil scattering coefficient. Okay, so that's how you can rename pages and automatically propagate the change in link to that page. Okay, but again, that's all explained in the manuals. All right, so I'm going to go to the user page. Let's go here. And if your user page don't already exist, it's going to be created at this moment, or it's going to be an option for you to create. This is a sandbox for you to do whatever you want. This is just your personal page. You're never going to be visible in the final version that the random users on the internet can see. And you can write anything for yourself. Like, for example, for me, I created a to-do list, some definitions wiki. I separate the things that need to be done. I have some sub pages here that are drafts or test pages that I created to test some content. And one important or interesting thing that we can do in our page is to have this info box with our user information. So we have here some number of convenient icons, like you have my email, you have my work address, you have my org ID, you have LinkedIn profile, ResearchGate, Google, etc. And this is done the same way as we do for articles. So there is a function that we're also going to be explained in the manuals, which is property set editor. So it's setting properties for an editor, and they have those attributes that you can fill in. So real name, Alexandre Castanha, a picture. So again, a picture that you already uploaded through upload file of yourself. your job, a title that you want to appear together with your name, your affiliation, the name of the institution you're working now, address, so that will create the icon of the building. If anyone wants to write an email, send you a package or whatever. Phone, if you want. Currently, I don't have anything, and you can just leave it blank. But if you add something, also going to appear a phone icon under your name. Your email, your RKD, etc. If you had a Twitter account, you could also put here HTTP something Twitter. I don't have anything, but I'm just going to put something here so that the Twitter icon show, and then you can save this. And wherever you have edited there, the function infobox editor will automatically query and provide this infobox. So again, I put here a random phone number, so this appears here, and a Twitter that I don't have, but whatever you leave blank is just not going to appear here, okay? And you can use this as a sandbox. So for example, I use sometimes subpages. The subpage is just created with a slash. So let's say I'm going to create here a subpage. I'm just going to copy this and paste. So using the syntax for a link, I'm just going to create a subpage called VSF, okay? And I'm just going to make this more convenient for me by, instead of showing all this path here, I'm just going to show whatever is after the pipe, so VSF. But this is explained in the manual of how to format links. So let's go ahead and save this. And now I save this, and it's going to show as a red link. And then I can go ahead and just click in here and create this subpage and start editing it with some content for VSF. And then I can do this. So I can use this as a sandbox so that I can first create the article and then put in when I feel it's ready. Okay. And that pretty much is it. We are a bit late in time, but I think this gives a general overview of how to create the articles. And again, you can come here to the main page and go to the manuals that will tell you how to create pages, how to add formatting, citations, synonyms, images. I'm still going to add some information here on how to create discussions, semantic properties, categories, functions, and user page. But this is fairly easy to do. We'll be doing that until the end of the week. And that's it. And so I would hope very much that the editors and the thematic area coordinators start tinkering and playing a bit with this, so that first we find out what needs to be better explained, and we can find out what needs to be expanded or new functions that need to be created to make functionalities that we want available. And also for us to start defining the other types of categories we need. So we created this property set function to set semantic properties for quantity type of entities, but concept type of entities or algorithm type of entities would require different semantic properties, different structure, and all that needs to be created. It could also be the case that thematic area, let's say for mathematics, do not use the same sections or the same kind of skeleton than the optic thematic area. Then we would create another skeleton just for that thematic area. So this, you need those thematic areas to start working and tinkering and figuring out what's the content model that works for them and for the different types of entities that they are creating here. Okay. So I will very quickly open for questions if anyone has any, and then we conclude this meeting. So anyone has questions?
This is Sam. Oh, I'll put my camera on if it goes on. I was just going to check there's some protection for deleting of pages, because it was like a drop-down menu and refresh, but you could see if your mouse went wrong, you might end up on delete by mistake.
Yes, so delete is never a total delete. Even for administrators of the wiki, even I, or the CSOP, right, of the system, can never delete completely. To delete completely, you're going to have to MySQL in the database of the server and manually delete an entry. What happens is that editors can delete a page, and this page will going to be phantom in the sense that it's not going to be shown anymore, but the content still exists. So in the future, that can always be reverted. But I think the rights to delete a page are not for every editor, just for the administrators. I'm not sure. If it is, I'm going to take this off because there's no need for that. But it could be the case that you created something, you're testing, and you figure out, oh man, I just didn't need to create that, so I'm going to delete this because of whatever. You can always contact me and ask to do that deletion, or if the deletion is available, do it yourself. A move action is a rename page. So whenever you do a rename, so let's go to wavelength. Let's go to the wavelength page, and if you go there, we can decide just to do a move. And I don't know if everyone has the right to do a move. I can check, but essentially it's going to ask you the new name of the page and if you want to leave a redirect behind. Now, I think for most of the users, this is not an option. You're always going to leave a redirect behind. But me and Daniela can choose to not leave a redirect behind. So essentially this works as deleting a page, because I'm changing the name of a page and leaving no redirect, so essentially the previous content no more exists. Okay, but the content saved to this new page that I'm going to put here. So I'm just going to say whatever is that a name that I want to move that content to. But typically, every editor doing this will leave a redirect behind. So, for example, again, let's say I created a page particle scattering coefficient, and I decide to move to hydrosoil scattering coefficient. It would leave that redirect behind, so that now anyone querying or asking for that page, particle scattering coefficient, will be automatically redirected to hydrosoil scattering coefficient. So, Norman had a question as well. Sorry, Norman.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I would like you to demonstrate one more time how to insert the template for a new article or a new user page.
Okay, so I will show you here when you say create pages, so new pages. So you're gonna, if you navigate here, you're gonna say page structure by page type. So click here, it's gonna be a few options for you. You can do two things. You can just click on the link and go to the page that defines this skeleton and copy and paste this boilerplate. Okay, I don't think you should do that. That's just there as an option. The best way to do it is to copy this code and add it. So essentially what it's doing is what Wikimedia shows, tells us a transclusion, okay, a double square brackets. It's copying the content of this page into the page you're editing. But the keyword substitute makes this copies permanent. It's actually not just at rendering time getting that content, is actually copying that content to your page. So you just create a new page, you have that blank space, you copy this code there, and you save it. And when you save it, it will copy automatically for you all that skeleton. And when you start editing that page again, all that skeleton will be there. And that's here examples by different page types. So new article is actually a new article type quantity. Okay, so we can have skeletons for other types of entities. You have here a new category, which typically you're not going to be the editors, the normal editors will typically not be doing this. Template documentation properties, semantic properties. This is more for me and Daniela or other potential editors that want to go part of the administrative team that can use to help them to create those types of pages. But we're going to have a broader list here in the future with the different types of articles, like new quantity article, new concept article, new optics concept article, and new, I don't know, math concept article, in the case that those skeletons are different. Okay, so it's going to always be easily accessible for anyone to just go here and copy. Now, there's a more convenient way to do this. Instead of having all that text that looks very ugly and very confusing maybe to start, is a possibility to have a form. So it would be a web page with you know, boxes where you can enter the information and then a reader is telling you what kind of information you should enter. The reason why you don't have that at this point is because I could not make that extension work with our installation. Okay, so it's something that we are looking into, and in the future we might just go up to. So we'll make a more, let's say, nice visual interface to structure fields, structure skeleton of a page. So you're going to have a series of boxes where essentially you're going to put in that information that's asked you to do here. Is that okay? Does that respond to your question, Norm?
Yes, it does.
You want me to actually do it?
Oh no. That's fine.
No?
Is there a template right now for a new user page? Because it looked like you had all the custom fields for like your phone number and all that stuff already.
I will do that. I will create that template. There's no one yet, but the only thing that's gonna have in this template is this top part here. Because there's no format. A user page is your own page. The only thing that every user is encouraged to have is to set their semantic properties for themselves and have like this nice info box that will show a picture of them so that we can, better know about each other. And if we need, we have links for that person. So I will create that template, and we'll have this boilerplate here for you to fill up. But the rest is just whatever you want to have in your personal page.
Perfect.
Okay.
And the other question I had was, is there documentation of how much of LaTeX is actually in there?
Yeah.
I guess that's
okay. So it's a very good question. So if we go here to math in the manual, sorry, in the formatting in the manual, but you can also reach that by going here in math. Directly, he's going to take you to the section in the formatting page that's about math. There's an information here about the subset of tag that is available within. So if you go here to help displaying a formula, you're going to see what subset of tag is available for you to use. It's a very comprehensive page. There's tons of information here. For very advanced users, there is ways actually for you to define your own functions like you could do in a document in tag, but that's not the case here. You could do it, and if you want, you can explore that, but we're not expecting people to actually do that. One thing that I would note though is that there is an article here called Mathematical Conventions. And that's exemplified. That's my first draft, of course, is to receive everyone's input. And you can add it directly, or you can create a discussion on the top of the page about how we should write, how we should go about writing. So variables should be italic face, constant identifiers should have Roman face, so for example, DN and L here. Vector quantity should be boldface, so the Muller matrix. Multiple identifiers should cascade vertically, so here you have the slope of the hyperbolic function for the Gleb stuff. Let's say. You already see here there's a problem because G is being used for glint and for Gleb stuff. But again, I just created that as an example, and we're going to fine-tune all those inconsistencies over time. And we have here independent variables, should be a semicolon separated list. Keep the differentials close to their integral sign to avoid confusion. So here the integration over the azimuth angle, so the differential is here, and here over the zenith angle, so the integration is here. So it just simplifies notation a little bit. The spectral reference that we would use for now would be wavelength in nanometer, but we could use frequency. And here's just an indication if you want to use, you should use wavelength in vacuum actually as a reference, should have a 0. We'll figure out how to add that automatically when we're talking about specification of a variable. And directions would be specified using Cartesian or spherical unit vectors. So you have here the hat, key hat, or a big theta hat, and the components of this vector are the three Cartesian components of the directional. Or the spherical unit components, the zenith angle, the azimuth angles, and the radius, which are always going to be 1 in this case. Please come here and add your own perspectives of view, create discussions on this. This is just an initial draft. Okay. Any other questions?
That's good for me.
Yeah, Hongyan, you have your unmuted. You have any questions?
No, actually not. Yeah, it's
all right.
clear for me. it just takes some time really to play with it, I think. Yeah.
Indeed, and not only the manuals will be there, but this video will be available. And if there is a request for that, I can record on my own videos in a more slow pace, going through every part of the manual and upload for us. So that if you prefer to watch a video then read the manual, you can do so. But yeah. Tristan, you have a question, or you just gave up on the question?
Yeah, just a small one. If I think we will proceed by writing like collectively on one article, and how we can make I mean, kind of proposition and accept them at the end or reject them and these kind of things.
Yeah, so there is no accept and reject. There's no like suggested edit. You edit or you don't edit. What's going to happen is if it is something that is in the text, for example, the historical notes section of Glint article, you can just go there. There's no content, so you can just go there and write it, for example. Would it be nice to coordinate, to send a message to the person that's editing that article and say, hey, Alex, I'm going to add some content to historical notes. And you just go there and add it yourself. And what's going to happen is that I will know, because I'm watching this page, so this is this star here. It's whenever you create a page, you can automatically select to watch a page, or you can always click in this star to say that you know is in a watch list. And whenever someone makes a change to that page, I'll be notified. And also, I can specifically go to view history and compare two consecutive versions or any other previous version, and have a list of the additions and subtractions that were done to the page since you added some content. So that's a way that I can, know what was added and change it. But there's no suggested that. So if you want to change something that is more broad scope, as like, for example, again, like, should we define glint in the reflect instead of radiant space? Then that would make more sense for you to start a thread and say, hey, is a broad context of a question that would change significantly several parts of this article. If it's just a typo or adding content or adding an image or something, you can just go there and just add it. Is that good?
Yep, thanks.
It is a lot of work for sure, and that's where the thematic area coordinators come in hand, because it's supposed to be with them to list or help list the entries that are considered priority, and to start assigning within the editors that are part of those thematic areas who's going to do what, so someone to help to coordinate this effort from that granularity of thematic areas toward the greater granularity that is the full project itself, with me and Daniela as coordinators. All right, with that, unless there is any other important question, just for a question of time, I would close this meeting. So, anything else? No? Okay, so thank you very much for staying with us half an hour after, and looking forward to receive a lot of pings of your editions in the Wikipedia. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.